Konnichiwa, Shibu Inus. Here's a no bullshit tutorial on how to flash any L3 Plus firmware, failed signature checks and HiveOS included. If this video helps you out, do only good every day and hit that like button.
First up, we're going to download the firmware that will be flashing to the device. So go ahead and open up your favorite browser and go to awesomeminer.com. Once AwesomeMiner loads up, go ahead and click on Download at the top of the page. On the next screen, go ahead and scroll down all the way until you run into Antminer Firmware Downloads. That's the link we're going to want to click. On the firmware download page, you'll see a list of supported devices. In this case, we're aiming for the L3 Plus or the L3 Plus Plus. Make your way down the page, and we're going to completely ignore the first section of downloads. These are for on-device firmware upgrades only through the GUI interface, which depending on your firmware version, will probably fail. So skip! The SD section contains the droids we're looking for, so let's go ahead and cherry pick the L3 Plus out of the list. Select the highest version of the L3 Plus firmware, in this case 3.8.8, and we want to make sure to download the 2% profile. The 3% profile is if you're using AwesomeMiner's farm software, and as a professional miner, you shouldn't be using their FarmOS. Their firmware is just our way of getting our foot through the door, so that we can upgrade to the firmware of our choice.
Go ahead and load your 8GB MicroSD card into your computer. The SD card should be formatted to the required FAT32 straight from the factory, but if yours isn't, go ahead and do so.
When that's popped in, just go ahead and copy and paste from the file to the SD card. With the SD card loaded up, we're ready to take it to the physical machine. Power down the L3 Plus that is being upgraded, and at the top here you're going to want to unplug ASIC 0 and ASIC 1 from the controller board so that you can insert your SD card in the slot behind them. The 18-pin ASIC cables are kind of a bitch to get off, so make sure that you're careful so that you don't ruin your control board. Here you can see the SD card slot, as well as sense its voodoo magical powers messing up my camera stabilization. You want to insert the SD card's contacts up, so you should see them as you insert them. You'll know the SD card is inserted when it latches into place. With the new firmware ready to be installed, power the device back on.
5 minutes later.
Power down the device after 5 minutes, as it should now be installed. Remove the SD card and reconnect ASIC 0 and 1 to the control board. With everything plugged back in, connect back to the electrical grid. When rebooted, open up your favorite IP scanner to find the dynamic host configuration protocol address, which is just a fancy way of saying random IP address when you plug it into your network. Once the scan is complete, find the IP address that is assigned to your device. In my case, it's 172.20.1.104. When you've found the right IP address, open up your browser and type it into the address bar. The newly flashed Antminer firmware should load. When it prompts for a username and password, they are both root, all lowercase. That's ROOT, Romeo Oscar Oscar Tango. To finish this tutorial up, we're going to go to the network settings and assign the device a static IP address that is outside of the DHCP scope. I kiss all my devices and set the host name with the last 3 digits of the static IP address that it's being assigned. In this way, they are easier to find on the network when you need to access them. Take note that if you can't find your device on the network, you may need to repeat this tutorial 2 or 3 times. I've had to do so myself, and there's nothing we can really do about that. It's the way it works. Congratulations, you have successfully flashed your Antminer L3 Plus firmware. Click that like button if you enjoyed this video, and if this tutorial helped you earn some coin, donations are accepted via the QR codes you see on the screen. This has been Much Mining, and just know, 1 Doge equals 1 Doge.